In this video, I'm going to give you some comic book recommendations to help fill out your shopping list for Christmas. What's up, guys? BJ Kicks here. I buy comics, I read them, and I review them, all for your viewing pleasure. If you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. Now, it's the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all these holidays coming up, and it's a time to spend with loved ones and also to shower them with love and affection in the form of gifts. Now, if you're watching this video, it's because either you are a super comic fan or you've got a pretty special comic book fan in your life, and you may be looking for some ideas for some books to get them. Now, in my opinion, the best way to get into comics or to give people comics is to give them collected editions, trade paperbacks or hardcovers that collect more than one issue of a book so you can get a full story and really dive deeply into a character. And so today I've got quite the extensive list of recommendations, and all these are going to be available at our channel sponsor, Organic Priced Books. Now, Organic Priced Books is my favorite place to go for collected editions. They've got really fast shipping, really great packaging, and the best customer service in the game. So everything that we talk about in this video is a part of my special BJ Kicks collection over at Organic Priced Books. And everything that you see in this video, you can get an extra 5% off of your purchase using the code KICKSMAS. That's my gift to you. So use the code KICKSMAS at checkout and save an extra 5% on every book that I mentioned in this video. And even if you don't decide to grab one of the books I recommend, you can still use the code BJKicks or BJKicks Ship It Together to save on any book that you see on the website. Just make sure you order quickly because the holidays are coming soon. If you're trying to make a Christmas deadline, you pretty much just got this week to place your order if you're using that UPS ground shipping. So without further ado, let's get into the recommendations. Now, I've got recommendations from DC, from Marvel, indie publishers, even some manga. So if you need to use the timestamps to skip around to your section, feel free to do so. But we're going to start with DC because they're the home of my favorite superhero character, and that is Batman. So we're going to kick this off with the Batman No Man's Land Omnibus Volume 1. Batman No Man's Land was like the quintessential 90s event. In fact, I think it's the first major Batman crossover event. And boy, did it cross over. I mean, every title anywhere near Gotham City gets included in this huge overarching story about how Gotham City has basically been walled off from the rest of the world and is considered a no man's land. Now, No Man's Land is technically a 3-volume set. There's The Road to No Man's Land Volume 1, and No Man's Land Volume 2. I certainly recommend that you grab Volumes 1 and 2, but I think No Man's Land or The Road to No Man's Land is an optional inclusion there. So grab No Man's Land Volume 1. I think you'll have a great starting point for the super Batman fan in your life. Now, that's a huge quintessential 90s event, but what if you're looking for something that's a little bit less sprawling, a little bit more compact, and a little bit less expensive? Well, my recommendation for you is the Batman by Grant Morrison Omnibus Volume 1. Now, Batman by Grant Morrison is also a 3 omnibus set, but it's basically brought or separated into 3 different Batman titles. So, the Batman by Grant Morrison Omnibus Volume 1 really breaks up Morrison's time on the proper Batman title. This title gives you, or this omnibus, gives you the first appearance of Damian Wayne. It gives you some great stories, and it sets up one of my favorite stories, which is Batman R.I.P. What Grant Morrison does really well is takes elements from anything you've ever heard about Batman. Remember Batmite from the old animated series, right? You've got all these different pieces of lore that have been everywhere, whether it's Silver Age comics, TV shows, and Grant Morrison finds a way to pull it all in, but not just pull it in, to make it relevant and make it serious. And in Batman R.I.P., he shows us just how prepared Batman is at all times to handle even the toughest of challenges. So even if you only get Grant Morrison Volume 1, I think it's a great standalone story, and you won't be mad that you didn't continue. And the fact that it's only a $50 omnibus is really great too. So go ahead and grab that from Organic Priced Books. Now, maybe you're not the biggest Batman fan, which I feel like that's blasphemy, but there are plenty of people who don't love Batman, but they do love Superman. So I got 2 recommendations for you as well. Starting with Superman, The Death and Return of Superman Omnibus. Now, much like Batman's No Man's Land, Superman, The Death and Return of Superman is basically a huge, sprawling 90s event, crossing over all of the Superman family of titles. And it centers on the fact that this alien named Doomsday comes from space, crash lands on Earth, and kills Superman. Now, Superman stays dead for quite some time, and this book deals with his death, the aftermath, the people that try to rise up to take Superman's place, and of course, Superman's eventual return. Now, this book was out of print for like the last 3 years, up until it got reprinted this year, and it's super high on a lot of Superman collectors' lists. So if the Superman lover in your life doesn't have this huge book, go ahead and grab it for them this Christmas. They won't be mad, and you won't be mad that you bought it. Now, if you're looking for a story that's a little bit less 90s, a little bit less sprawling, a little bit more modern, well, check out this. It's the Superman by Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason omnibus. This is one of the most recent runs to wrap up, starting with Superman's rebirth era in 2016. And this book really kind of examines the relationship between Superman and his son, Jonathan Kent. And it's really great father-son adventures, and it's really family adventures overall. Really, really heartfelt, really warm. This series feels like a warm hug with a bunch of action dispersed throughout. So really, really cool book. Go ahead and grab Superman by Peter J. Tomasi with art, phenomenal art by Patrick Gleason. Now, since we're done it with Batman and Superman, maybe you want to see more from all of the DC universe. You might be a Green Lantern fan or an Aquaman fan, but you want to see the rest of them too. So my recommendation for you is the Justice League New 52 Omnibus Volume 1. This is great for someone who maybe is a casual comics fan or maybe even just got into comics from the animated shows and they want to know a little bit more about these characters. Well, a lot of the DC animated universe is based on the storytelling from the New 52, which was basically just a reset of the main DC universe. So the Justice League Omnibus Volume 1 details the first time all of these heroes meet each other and form up against a greater threat. Now, this is written by Jeff Johns, who is no stranger to comics or TV writing for that matter. And it's got art by Jim Lee, who is arguably one of like the greatest comic artists of all time. Man, this book is amazing. Jim Lee, Ivan Reyes, Jason Fabok, the art never takes a break, and neither does the story. Volume 1 is a great place to jump in to Justice League, especially from the New 52. And if you decide to continue on to Volume 2 to wrap up the rest of the story, that's great too. But even if you don't, I think Volume 1 gives you enough action and enough amazing art to absorb as a first-time comics buyer. So definitely grab Justice League New 52 Volume 1 for the comic lover in your life. Now, before we finish talking about DC Comics, there's one more little offshoot that I want to talk about, and that is the Milestone universe. Now, Milestone is an imprint of DC Comics. Really, they're an independent company that teamed up with DC in the 90s to publish some pretty interesting heroes, focused a little bit more on diversity and just kind of more, serious storytelling. But you may not have heard of Milestone, but I'm sure you've heard of this character, Static, from the Static Shock cartoon. Well, he gets his origin in this Static book, and for the longest time, these Milestone books were only available in single issues that you had to track down on eBay. Well, not anymore. Now you can grab the Milestone Compendium, which is available at Organic Price Books, and what this collects is the first 12 or so issues of every Milestone title. So you get to know characters like Static, Icon and Rocket, Hardware, or my favorite, the team-up book, Blood Syndicate, and you get introduced to this whole world from the 90s. And what's interesting or what's great is Volume 1 is out and Volume 2 is out for pre-order, and that's available coming up next year. So go ahead and get this great primer into the Milestone universe, the Dakota universe as we call it, with the Milestone Compendium Volume 1. All right, so those were great for the DC fan in your life, but what if you're into Marvel Comics, the Avengers, Captain America, Deadpool, people like them, right? All right, I got you. So we're going to start off the Marvel Comics recommendations with the Black Panther by Christopher Priest omnibus. Now, this book just came out last week, and it's probably one of the most highly anticipated omnis of the year. Black Panther, of course, having a huge character resurgence ever since the 2018 film, Well, Wakanda Forever came out this year. And finally, for the first time like ever, we got collected in an oversized hardcover, the full or the Christopher Priest run. Now, Christopher Priest, also known as Jim Owsley, was the first Black editor in mainstream comics and one of the most prolific Black writers. And he wrote the Black Panther series starting with Marvel Knights in 1998. He wrote over 60 issues of Black Panther, but this omnibus collects basically the first half of that run. This run introduces us to the Dora Milaje. This run introduces us to Agent Everett Ross. This run introduces us to a lot of the modern technology and just showing just how advanced Wakandan technology is. Like, T'Challa had an iPhone before the iPhone, right? So all of the lore surrounding T'Challa, a lot of the great stuff that you've seen in the movies, while it does build on great writers of the past like Don McGregor, this really makes Black Panther cool, modern, and relevant to current audiences. So I definitely recommend you grabbing Black Panther by Christopher Priest, Volume 1, and be on the lookout for Volume 2 whenever Marvel announces it. Now, the next book I'm going to recommend is a relatively new book as well. This is the Venom Omnibus, or the Ven Omnibus, by Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman. Now, Donny Cates started his run on Venom in the year 2018, and I wasn't quite into comics yet, but I went and read the first 12 issues a little bit later on, and I was like, yo, this is amazing. So this follows Eddie Brock, who is cursed with being Venom and having this symbiote live life with him. And we really get a better understanding of who Eddie Brock is, why he's like a perpetual screw up, and we give him some means to redeem himself. And we're also introduced to a brand new character, and I won't spoil who he is. But this run, if you were into Venom, if you remember Venom from maybe like the animated series or from Spider-Man 3 or from any other incarnation of the Venom movies, right? Then you know he like looks like cool and gooey and wants to eat people and stuff like that. But this adds a whole new layer and depth and dimension to the Venom character. And what's great is this Venom Omnibus collects the entire Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman run, including the two events, Absolute Carnage and King in Black. So if you've got a Venom fan in your life and you know they don't read the comics super often, grab them this book. They don't need anything else. Now, of course, we can't talk about Venom without talking about Spider-Man. And I think the best book to grab someone who's not getting comics every week is the Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus, Volume 1. Now, this is the first of what's planned to be at least 4 volumes. But hey, it's okay. It's okay, because you don't need to read anything before you read this Volume 1. And what Ultimate Spider-Man is basically an alternate universe retelling of the Spider-Man story. So you get to see Peter Parker get bit by that radioactive spider. You get to see how his family reacts. You get to see, how Uncle Ben dies. A lot of the stuff from the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie is actually inspired by this telling or this version of the story. Now, the Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus is an extra bargain on this list because as of right now, the direct market cover with Peter kind of crawling on the web like this is still available for just $85, even though all the other covers are still going for $125 or even more. So go ahead and grab that and use the coupon code KICKSMAS to save 5%, extra 5%. Now, we've talked about a bunch of Marvel characters, but you still haven't heard of Thor or Iron Man or anyone like that, right? Where are the Avengers? Where are the X-Men? Well, they're right here in this next book. This is the Avengers versus X-Men Omnibus. This is the classic like mid-2010s event that brought you the Avengers and the X-Men fighting each other for reasons that I'll let them detail when you read the book. Now, this was a 12-issue maxi series with tons and tons of tie-ins. This really took over the Marvel universe and really had a lot of people excited about comics that had not been reading the comics before. So you get a huge volume like this. This omnibus replaces a 2-volume set that used to be out, and you had like a little thin book and a massive book. This combines them all into one. So if you wanted to see your X-Men punching Avengers, this is the book for you to buy. So go ahead and grab the Avengers vs. X-Men Omnibus from our channel sponsor, Organic Price Books. So that rounds out the Marvel Comics recommendations. Now, what if you've gotten through this whole list and you're like, I'm not super into superheroes. Comics aren't really my thing. I'm more of a manga fan, or I'm more of an independent comic fan. Cool. No worries. I got you. Let's start with those manga fans. Now, if you've got a teenager in your life, chances are you've seen them wearing a shirt featuring these characters from My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia is a still ongoing manga series that has gotten all the way up to 32 volumes of paperback books, collecting, the various adventures in this world. It's kind of like a Japanese take on superhero comics, but it's really interesting. They've got an anime that is super popular, and that's where all this merchandise comes from. I've seen toys, backpacks, keychains. Anytime I go to my daughter's middle school, I see My Hero Academia on a daily basis. But what you can grab, instead of trying to grab all 38 volumes somewhere scattered around, you can grab this box set, the My Hero Academia box set volume 1, that collects the first 20 trade paperbacks. Yes, 20 paperbacks in one paperback, or one nice box set that you can grab for the teenager in your life. And I bet you that you will be the coolest parent on the block. That's what I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be super cool. But you can get volumes 1 through 20 in the box set for just $135. And that's before you use the code KICKSMAS at checkout to save an extra 5%. So go ahead and grab that and be the envy of all your kids' friends. Now, next up, we're getting out of manga territory and talking about more independent comics. And there was a lot that I could recommend, but I decided to stick with these two. First up is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin. Now, if you're at all familiar with those 4 turtles that love pizza and live in the sewers, well, this book is going to hit some notes for you. Now, this is a take on this story where they're set way in the future. 3 of the turtles have died, and Master Splinter has died. And the last remaining turtle has to go out and find his vengeance and take his vengeance for the death of his family. And as he does, we learn what happened to his brothers. We learn what happened to Master Splinter. And we see him take on this Herculean task of overcoming his demons while trying to go ahead and get revenge, or die trying. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Last Ronin is notable because this is basically a story that's crafted from an old plot by the creators, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, but it's written by current series writer, Tom Waltz. So you get like modern sensibilities with a classic feel. The art is amazing, and there are even flashback pages by Kevin Eastman done in that old TMNT style. This is great for any turtle fan. You don't have to read anything before or after. And if you're only going to read one Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle story, that's the one I recommend. So next up, and the last book on the list, is Usagi Yojimbo. Now, if you're familiar with the Ninja Turtles, you might know this character. You might recognize this character from a few crossovers in the comics and in the animated series. But Usagi Yojimbo is a creation by Stan Sakai. It's basically a Ronin, a masterless samurai out there in feudal Japan. And of course, he's an anthropomorphic rabbit. And so I grabbed this box set. This is the box, I think it's the 20th anniversary slipcase box set. But anyway, what this collects is the first 2 volumes of Usagi Yojimbo published by Fantagraphics Press. Now, you should know that this volume, or the Usagi Yojimbo stories, are still ongoing. And they're designed for you to be able to jump in anywhere, but there's really no better place than the beginning. So you get all of the original Fantagraphics Usagi in these 2 beautiful hardcovers. I was going to grab them off the shelf, but I'm going to leave them where they are. But you get these beautiful hardcovers. And if you have someone who, enjoys medieval times, enjoys feudal Japan, who enjoys anthropomorphic characters, or just loves like great black and white Japanese inspired art, this is definitely the book for them. If they're a manga fan trying to get into comics, this is the book for them. And if you know my friend Mitch from the OmniBuddy channel, you know that he never shuts up about this book. So I put it on this list just because he'd be mad if I didn't. But that box set was out of print for a long time and was going for crazy, crazy prices on the secondary market. So the fact that it's still in print and still available at a reasonable price means it's a must grab this holiday season. And that is the end of my recommendations. Now, like I said, each of these books that I recommended is in a special collection on the Organic Price Books website, and you can grab them using the link down in the description below. Just use the coupon code KICKSMAS and you'll save an extra 5% on every book in that collection. Every book, every cover, it's there. I promise. Now, once again, these books are designed for you to be able to read as standalone. So don't think you got to buy your friends or your family members a bunch of books or a million books. No, grab them one of the books off this list. They'll be great. They'll love you for it. And I'll love you for it because I took a lot of time making these recommendations. So that's going to do it for me. Until next time, I hope you saw something you liked in this video. And if not, hey, that's cool. Because you can always buy what you like. Just make sure you read what you buy. And be nice to others, because kindness makes the world go round. Peace.